Nobody trusts the cloud.
Hey, the cloud in the Zoom has been working kind of. Apparently you can run out of storage space though. All right, everybody, welcome to the August 18th COAACC membership meeting. Woohoo! We are 5.5 months through COVID and we are going strong. We are going to continue doing our meetings on a fairly routine basis, so likely monthly until we say otherwise. And we will not be doing anything face-to-face other than Zooming face-to-face the rest of this calendar year if I had to bet $1. But my name is Avery Frost. I'm the Executive Director of the Central Ohio African American Chamber, and I'm happy to see your faces here today. Please drop any notes in the chat, but we will also offer question and answer time after our speakers and at each section. So feel free to hold them until then. So in front of you, you have the agenda. We're gonna go through it and back and forth, and so don't mind that. But first up, I would like to introduce Allison from Gerber, who is going to talk to us about her company that she works with and this program that I think is pretty cool that I'm happy that you'll be able to hear about today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I'm seeing familiar faces, which is wonderful. I had the pleasure of meeting Avery recently and expressed an interest in getting to know your organization and engage with your organization. And so I'm delighted to share with you about Gerber and get to speak with any of you who would like to engage about your businesses and about us. The program that Avery is referencing is called our Emerging Entrepreneur Experience. And we are a business consulting firm, and we represent first-generation entrepreneurs. And we have a couple of ways in which we engage with our entrepreneurs, depending on the stage they are in their business. So newer entrepreneurs, meaning in business 2 years or more, with revenue typically less than 3 million, we engage in this 1-year program, which is an in-person opportunity to receive guidance from us about how to effectively scale their business. So we are looking for growth-minded entrepreneurs who want to build great businesses, have already started building great businesses, and live happy and successful lives while building their businesses. And our clients are industry leaders who are happy and are making money as they grow their businesses and fulfill their life goals as well. And that 1-year program was created by us. It's all our own unique content. And it's the content that we have used for almost 30 years to guide business owners to scale their businesses with the right timing and with the opportunity to scale from hundreds of thousands in revenue to millions in revenue. And we do this by teaching content, and we have 9 modules of content that are organized in order of priority of how you would want to implement these very critical building blocks into your business to scale your business at the right pace for you, and to do so in a way that is steady growth and highly powerful, effective growth, with the opportunity to also have a life while you're growing your business. We are very excited to be launching a completely virtual opportunity of this content and all of the materials for busy entrepreneurs who would prefer to move through the content on their own. And that opportunity is launching at the beginning of September. And so people will have the opportunity, if they want to join the program live and be a part of a cohort of 15 other entrepreneurs, either via Zoom or in person in our office, to engage that way with our next cohort in October, or they could engage at their chosen time with the content and information through this virtual option. In both cases, the live version, you're going to be surrounded by an ecosystem of other entrepreneurs that can be advisors and mentors and possible business opportunities for you to trade services and get to know one another over the course of the year. And then if you engage virtually, we're going to have a Q&A session live each week that you can participate in to ask questions about the content that you've been working on and effectively applying it to your business. So that's a very basic overview. And I would love to share information with any of you who would be interested about the content that we teach and about the different formats in which it's offered, and learn about your businesses and great things about you being a part of this organization and you being a business owner. Thank you.
Cool, yay. Thank you, Allison. Are there any immediate questions from folks on the call?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Allison, what kind of businesses or entrepreneurship are you looking for? Any specific category or just anybody that's an entrepreneur?
That's a great question. So we focus on first generation entrepreneurs. So entrepreneurs that have started their own businesses is our special space. And we are industry agnostic. So with our clients, between our Gerber emerging entrepreneur clients and our more mature entrepreneurs in the $10 to $40 million revenue space, we have business owners in every industry. We happen to have a significant concentration of restaurant owners, and we have many in different types of construction, professional services, but really it runs the gamut. Distribution and manufacturing, supply chain, e-commerce, all sorts of retail, and the principles that we are teaching are effective for any type of business because they are fundamental to any business. And so the translatability and the power of the engagement between the entrepreneurs and the ecosystem that we create in the program, and also in your opportunities to engage with our other entrepreneurs that we work with on an ongoing basis, is very powerful to add to your experience of being a part of our program.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. And I'll throw my information in the chat. And like I said, I would love to meet any of you, whether you're interested in the program or not, and learn about your businesses. That's what I love about my job, is meeting business owners and learning about why they became business owners. And if there's a way we can help, we would love to have the opportunity.
We have a couple.
Hey, Allison.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Quick question for you. How many people do you take in your cohort?
So in the live cohort, we typically take up to 15 entrepreneurs. As indicated, we launch 2 cohorts a year, one in October, the next one is beginning October 13th, and we've still got some room. And then the next one will be March of 2021. And then with respect to our new virtual option, there's no maximum number because you're moving through the content independently and you're joining the Q&A sessions live each week. And, you know, our Zoom platform will accommodate, obviously, a significant number of people participating in the Q&A.
Okay, I think you kind of answered one of the questions then, which was, could you do both like a hybrid, virtual and in person, but it sounds like they're not running necessarily simultaneously.
That's a great question. So if you want to participate in the in-person and you are needing the flexibility when you are not able to be on site with us, or if you aren't comfortable being on site with us, we will be running that session via Zoom as well. So any participants who would like to be live can be live, and any who, for a particular individual session or for all of the sessions, may participate via Zoom. And then if you can't make a session, we send you all of the materials. We record every session. You can catch up with us sending you the recording and use the Q&As, or in the next live session, have your questions answered about how you've applied that content that you were viewing independently, and get questions answered. So even though we have a topic for each in-person session that we are primarily focused on, we're always taking time in each session to talk about what we did previously, to let you ask questions about that. And, you know, because it's an ever evolving application of the content to your business.
I get one more question, which is about the fee. How much is the fee for the cohort, virtual or in person?
Yes. So the fee for the in-person or Zoom live format is $3,000, a one-time fee of $3,000. And we provide the opportunity for you to pay that in quarterly payments. So you would pay a deposit to hold your spot of $375, and then prior to the start, like October 1st, you would pay the remaining balance of the first quarter payment, and then you would have 3 more quarterly payments throughout the year, each of $750 for one entrepreneur to participate. And then the virtual program, we are doing an introductory pricing of $1,800 for that program. And that is a one-time fee that you pay at the outset of the program. When you fill out the application, you pay the fee for that program, and then we send you the all of the content, the videos of each session of content, and the materials that accompany that, which are your workbook to apply the content to your business.
Okay. Thank you very much, Allison, for being on. Please put your info in the chat, and there might be a couple more questions that were in there for you. But we will make sure that we share the information with your contact information and the link to the website in our recap. We do a recap email after each membership meeting. So we'll make sure that everybody has your info.
Yes, absolutely. And once again, thank you to all of you for giving me the opportunity to share with you. And I look forward to engaging with you and getting to know this organization better. So thank you for that opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so now we're gonna go to our next speaker. You may remember from a few meetings back, right when this COVID all started, we did let you all know that the State of Ohio Equal Opportunity Division at Department of Administrative Services was proposing some changes to be made to the administrative code. And so today we are happy to have the Deputy Director and State Equal Opportunity Coordinator, Eric M. Seabrook, who will chat with us a little bit about the proposed changes, and then we'll have a chance for some Q&A. And so what you have on your screen is a link, which I will include in the recap, to the state's website where you can see the changes specifically, as well as some other attachments, and then details about how you submit a request to do oral testimony at the public hearing or a written testimony. So Eric, you here with us?
It would be good if I unmuted myself. Sorry about that. Hello. I think Avery's introduction was more than appropriate. We are revising our rules package, and this covers minority business enterprises, women business enterprises, and what we refer to as the EDGE program, which is economically and socially disadvantaged businesses. And those can be determined in a number of different ways. It can be businesses that operate in a hub zone. It can be people who have some physical or other challenge that creates a hurdle to overcome in their business activity. Ethnicity is taken as a rebuttable presumption that you might be socially or economically disadvantaged. So that's the category of businesses that we're dealing with. And we also have a certification for veteran business enterprises. The rules that we're implementing really touch on two things, basically eligibility and credibility. Our goal is to make sure that we don't have companies that are pass-throughs and fronts, in essence, companies that would not otherwise qualify, but you have a majority business who has point of fact, propped them up and either paid them a fee or has a company that's filed and their paperwork does not truly reflect the ownership and control of the business. We require that a minority or socially disadvantaged or female owner have 51% of the company and also have the expertise and control in running that business. What these rules currently look at, one of the major reasons why we revised our rules is that we had a 10-year life for certification, a 10-year participation, similar to the time limit on the SBA 8A program. That 10-year limit was set to be reviewed in October of this year. We brought together a working group about 5 months ago and determined that there need not be a life-term 10-year limit on participation in the program. So the program participation is unlimited in terms of time frame. However, we will still have a size and owner equity or owner net worth criteria that will apply. And that's going to be pegged against the SBA 8A guidelines, which are typically reviewed and changed about every 5 years. Up until now, it's been $750,000, and that's going to go up. I apologize. I think it's going to go up to about $1.4 million. But you can find that in the rules that Avery mentioned, or in the overview that Avery mentioned that's being provided. I was trying to look right here and see if I had the number, but it's not in front of me. And basically our program is geared towards facilitating procurement opportunities with the state of Ohio. And that's across all of the state agencies. We have a goal of 5% for the EDGE program. The EDGE program participants can also participate in construction projects. The EDGE program is gender and ethnicity neutral. And part of that is a result of litigation, which forced us to remove any set-aside opportunities for construction projects. However, we do have a 15% participation goal for minority business enterprises as it applies to goods and services. As an enterprise, in other words, across all of the state agencies, last year, we did north of 19% of eligible expenditures. Our lowest agency was at 8%, and our highest agency was somewhere around 21%. Forgive me for not knowing that number right off. But we felt pretty good. Actually, the last 5 years, the state of Ohio has met its 15% goal, and it's for the MBE program, and it's 5% goal for the EDGE program. And that was across all state agencies. That gives you a little bit of a picture of what we're doing. What we want to do going forward also is really try and fine tune our matching. We have a new training that's called Certified Now What? And the objective of that training is to really help companies, first of all, identify who they are in terms of their capability statement and the strength of their procurement in terms of what they're selling. And then finally, look at what aspects of state government they best match with. Not exactly matchmaking in terms of matchmaking events, but more so looking at our projection plans. Every state agency, every biennium, every 2 years, consistent with the state budget, prepares a procurement projection plan. And within that projection plan, they anticipate how they will meet their minority participation spending. So that becomes a roadmap in many ways for companies to look at where are the opportunities within state government. In doing so, we want to better hone our opportunities. The thing that we want to do in the upcoming year is look at where are our better performing agencies, our top 5 agencies, and looking at what they do right, either in terms of bid scoring or just opportunities in general, whether they found particular procurement areas to focus on. And we've also decided to look at our bottom 5 performers and really look at how can we help them improve? What are some focus strategies we can use? Basically, this kind of leans towards some of the strategies that Jack Welch used at GE in looking at top performers and bottom performers and really focusing on those groups. So that's a little, I guess that's a capsule of where we are and where we're looking to go. Obviously, some of our planning has been challenged as a result of COVID-19, and we'll be looking at budget changes coming up. It's my personal belief that some of that won't be clear until we get into the next quarter fiscal year. We're in our first quarter fiscal year. Our fiscal year runs July to July. That's basically it, or at least for a summary of where we stand. We also will, I guess, another area of emphasis. We had a number of fronts and pass-throughs and actually some bad press over the course of the last year and a half. And one thing we'll be introducing is something called commercially useful function reviews. And essentially what those are will be spot reviews to really determine, are the minority businesses who are in the program genuinely benefiting? In other words, are they genuinely profiting? Or is there a possibility that a majority firm is actually reaping the majority of the benefits from their certification? So that's going to be a hands-on. It's almost, you can think of it as an IRS type audit. It's not quite that thorough, but it changes also for business sector, because someone in a construction field might have a vastly different model than someone who's brokering personal protection equipment like gloves and masks. There's a tremendous amount of variance there. What can we say? Our women's business enterprise certification is something that actually, unfortunately, has not been around very long. A big part of that is geared towards competition for women business enterprises between Ohio and other states. We had an Ohio business pursuing an opportunity in Indiana that lost that opportunity with the state of Indiana, because the state said that any state that didn't have a comparable women's business enterprise certification would not acknowledge or recognize women business enterprises for competition for contracts geared towards women business enterprises in their state. So the law was passed about a year ago, and we've worked out rules for that program and are moving forward. And that's largely an overview of where we are and where we're looking to go.
Cool. Thank you for the overview and definitely for the forecasting. I'm sure we have some questions from the group. One that I have received is, are you able to tell us kind of a breakdown of how many of the MBEs are actually Black-owned companies? Do you track it that detailed, or is it just kind of grouped together?
Yes, it is grouped together in terms of ethnicity. I don't have the number right in front of me, and obviously it's a moving target. We do roughly anywhere from 70 to 120 certifications in any given 2-week period. That's a running number. But this program historically was really focused on minority businesses. And when I say minority businesses, I mean African-American businesses. With the EDGE program, it's expanded somewhat. And we also work with socially disadvantaged programs in hub zones, like in Athens County. So there's a race or ethnicity is not a factor there. And in other cases, race or ethnicity doesn't become a factor. Obviously, with the gender related certification, that's true too. But yes, we do, and I can provide that number for you. But it will always be a number based upon a point in time. But I would argue that the lion's share, roughly about 70% of our businesses on any given time, are ethnic minorities. We've seen a rise in Asian businesses, particularly in the IT area, over the last 5 to 7 years. And that's an area where there's continual litigation as to East Indians being identified as minorities or not. And we've currently got some litigation related to that going on now.
Avery, I have a quick question, and I'm having problems with my chat thing. Mr. Seabrook, what prompted the changes?
Well, particularly, I guess, in terms of the 10-year life rule, there are a number of companies who said that being certified did not necessarily mean you shouldn't have a time span on it, because you could be certified for a number of years and never acquire an opportunity. And there's no necessity. There are two arguments. One, there's no necessity. If your size hasn't changed, you ought to still be able to compete as a small or medium-sized business. And some business models, take for instance, minority-owned architectural firms. Architectural firms by nature usually don't grow much beyond 3 to 5 people in terms of the actual architects on hand. So why should they, regardless of length of time, age out? There was another argument, the counter argument says, which was held to before, that said, if you don't put a time limit on it, you're going to keep getting the same businesses, and you're not allowing opportunity for new businesses. And the premise is now that it's about competition. So even amongst minority businesses, it's who can compete. That was the major change. The 10-year rule was, I would argue, was the driving force, because in all honesty, the Inspector General came in and said that the office was failing to enforce that rule. This program was developed in 2003, shortly after the minority set aside in construction was struck down in federal court. That was a decision of Judge Graham here in the Sixth Circuit. And as a result of that case, the EDGE program came to be. And I don't know if that gets specifically at your question in terms of the changes. The commercially useful function audit came about once again because we had some questions that arose in terms of front companies. You may remember in Dayton, within this last year, there were a number of people who were indicted, and actually several pled guilty, related to falsifying company certification. So there was seen as a need for tightening up. Now, none of those companies did we actually certify, but I think in the general area, there was seen as a need to be more stringent. And we've had other incidences of front companies and pass-throughs. So basically it's fraud is what brought it about.
I have a question from from my chat. So how are we going to be confirming that MBE is not a pass-through? Do you look at contract award totals compared to the MBE company revenues to determine this? Or do you look at who the subcontractors are that are listed to determine if the MBE is always using the same sub that is a large business, to determine if that large business might be a front?
Well, there's nothing wrong with having an ongoing relationship with a larger company. The question is, are you doing significant work? If you're a sub, you're a minority company that's a sub, are you doing significant work, and are you profiting in proportion to the amount of work that you're doing on the project? What we don't want is people bidding, getting a set-aside contract, and then essentially sourcing all of the work out to a majority company. Therefore, the minority company is not building any know-how or internal capacity or profits for that matter. Essentially, they're just a broker. And so what we're trying to do is avoid brokers, people who are simply getting a contract and brokering out to a majority firm. That does not mean, in fact, we're trying to encourage work between minority firms who may come together for purposes of capacity in either a joint venture or a teaming agreement. So in fact, that's one of our objectives too, is to promote joint ventures and teaming much the way the SBA does. And that can be with a majority firm or it can be between two minority firms.
Yeah.
So the way we determine is we look at what work are you doing on the contract and what percentage is the percentage of your proceeds or profits comparable to the amount of work that you're performing. And then finally, did you actually perform the work?
We have a question from Tasha.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. Seabrook. My name is Tasha. I just have a question. I am not a certified Edge business. I've been a part of a company that has gone through the certification and certification timed out, not with the 10-year, but I think it was like a 3-year expiration. So I just wanted to get on the same page to see the difference between this time limit that is proposed to go away, that there's no longer like a restriction on the eligibility that one company has within the program versus the actual certification itself. Are those two different time frames?
There are two different time frames. Your certification will be reviewed. So we'll look at have you grown, and that's largely for size requirements. We want to look at the net worth of the primary equity holder and the size of the company. So we have 2-year reviews related to that. So you can no longer size out, but take for instance, what you're referring to is a lapse in certification. And typically if somebody has lapsed 6 months to a year, we require them to recertify. And if somebody's certification, we'll notify you when it's within 6 months. And hopefully you'll start the process and we'll be able to recertify you. We are gonna be more stringent with recertification for minority business enterprises every 6 years. Typically, what you have to do annually is sign an affidavit confirming that ownership and control has not changed and that your size has not exceeded the size of the program. For Edge companies, that's every 2 years. For minority business enterprises, this is new. It's going to be every 6 years. We're going to look at your financials, but you'll sign an affidavit annually, simply saying that you're still eligible.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
All right, just a few more questions. One in the chat was, for the insurance qualifications tend to be a huge lift for many small businesses. Can MBs come together to meet that criteria? I'm assuming this is the liability and or bonding requirements.
Well, our program specifically doesn't have bonding requirements, but on the flip side of that, once you are certified, you have access to the state of Ohio's bonding program through Development Services Agency. And we're actually working to try to enhance that opportunity because there's a lot of belief that the bonding limits are not high enough and need to be raised to help more businesses. But once you're certified with us, you are eligible for the Development Services bonding assistance.
This is Marla Jones, and so I have my MBE, but a lot of what I found for the IT projects, that I had to also become a minority supplier, and I want to say that insurance limit is, right now I want to say $1 million. Okay, so maybe it's not 1 million, it's 700,000, but it's quite a bit that I would have to meet in order to be a part of any projects that are request a proposal for a minority business.
Marla, I'm not specifically sure with what you're referring to, but let's do this. Let's just go one step further. Let's try and work on that particular challenge. It's going to vary from project to project. Typically, a lot of our minority firms are not primes, usually because of the size of the project.
Sure.
So the insurance doesn't become a factor, but maybe what you're talking about is a barrier to entry, that there's some people who may have capacity, but they don't bid because they can't meet the insurance requirements. So the best thing I can say is let's look at that in actuality and see what ways we can work around it. This is a conversation we've been having as of late because we had even some bonding challenges with companies who wanted to bid on providing PPE, personal protection equipment, and they could make some of they could deliver the product, but the bonding requirements, because they were in fact not just performance bonds, but actual bid bonds that were required, and that became preventative and preemptive for people going after those contracts. So the best thing, I appreciate what you're saying. It's hard for me to answer it in abstract because it's really going to vary based upon, are you a prime or are you a sub on the contract? And then what's the nature of the contract? What's the nature of performance?
Can I email you or get your email information from Avery and I can go into more detail?
Please do.
Thank you.
Avery, are you able to, or Avery or Mr. Seabrook, are you able to put that email in the chat if you're open to that, Mr. Seabrook? I do have some questions that I'd like to kind of delve into offline as well.
Definitely. Anyone, all of you are, you're business people, Ohioans and taxpayers, so I work for you. So to that extent, please feel free to email. Avery has my email, and you can even call, to be honest. So yeah, please do. And there we have a nice team of people. In fact, our outreach coordinator, Bobby Bell Bartholomew, is very good. One of our other managers, Todd McGonigal, is very helpful, and I particularly like one of our officers, a man named Donald Stinson. But feel free to email and call me directly. We can go from there.
Yep. So I'll be sure to since everybody who's on here, you registered, so we have your email address. So we'll be sure to include all that information in the recap. Go ahead. You had something else to say?
Yeah, and the other thing that I'll mention is every state agency, and this is why I think it's very good, and we can do a certified now what seminar specifically for your organization, Avery. But every state agency has a minority business enterprise coordinator. And I think it's probably good for you to know, first of all, understand what are the agencies that I ought to be targeting, and then who are the people within that agency that I probably want to talk with. So yeah, we can work on a certified now what to do specifically for your organization, which will help you with some of those strategies.
Mr. Seabrook, I have a question. This is Ginger Cunningham.
Yes, ma'am.
When you talk about the various different agencies, because I do diversity, inclusion, business development, consulting, and so forth, there are times when various different agencies get accustomed and comfortable with some of their vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it difficult for a new company to try and get in the door to get some work, because those agencies are so locked into and comfortable with their contractors. How are you going to address that when you start looking at the percentages of the various different departments and so forth? You know, like 15%, say for EPA, you know, and they keep using the same companies that they've been using for years.
You know, I have two perspectives on that. One, there's a growth of business, but more importantly, I'll be quite honest with you. A lot of it is just competition. You know, what I tell people is we provide, the analogy I use is we provide a fishing license, but you still have to show up. You have to have the right kind of bait. First of all, you have to know what your strong suit is, because I don't consider our job to pick winners. Our job is to give you an opportunity to compete and to bid. And, you know, to some extent it isn't fair. You know, it's hard to be a new company to break in. What I suggest to people are the strategies that I suggest are find levels of government. Take, for instance, you might not start off with a state agency. You might start off with a county or a city. And just as I tell our companies that are working with the state, not to go after a federal SBA 8A, what I say is come practice on us. And sometimes there are just people who are better. I mean, you know, it's hard to break into the fast food industry because McDonald's, to a large extent, has consumed a big part of the field. That's the nature of competition. I don't know if there's a pat answer to what you're saying, even though, you know, in some areas there are required rotations, but that's typically not the case. And I'll just be honest with you. What I find is with purchasing officers is that when they find somebody who can perform and help them meet their numbers, they try and stay with them. And I don't know if there is a pat answer other than, you know, trying to find out what are the terms of competition. You know, essentially you got to build a better product, deliver a better service. And I don't know that I have an answer to your question, to be honest with you.
Thank you.
All right, any final questions for Mr. Seabrook? So if none, we will make sure that you have his contact information as promised. You feel free to reach out to him, and also DAS, their office will include the general phone number as well as the email address to folks who can answer your questions about, I'm sure he can as well, but people who answer questions about certification can direct you best on thinking about MBA set-asides and procurement and all of those kind of details that you might need. So thank you very much, Deputy Director Seabrook, for participating today.
Thank you for having me. And I'm very deliberate about us saying, let's move forward and trying to do one of those certified now what seminars, because I think it'll be very, very helpful in terms of looking at strategies. Ginger, your question, while I don't think I have an answer, I will promise you that I will think on it and try and provide you with something more deliberate or enlightening, hopefully.
Hopefully. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
I deal with that on a regular basis. Thank you.
Yeah, it's an ongoing. I mean, that's a complaint. I'm talking to a group tomorrow. They're a prime group of majority vendors, and they are on the opposite end. They're saying, well, once we find somebody, a minority firm that we can work with, we want to stick with them. So, you know, I find the challenge from both ends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me again.
Yes, thank you so much for being here.
All righty. Best wishes. Bye-bye.
You as well. All righty. Hi, Danya. I just saw you in the chat. All righty. So yes, we're going to continue through our our presentation and updates for the rest of our membership meeting, I am going to I wanted to round back to a couple things that we have been talking about previously to make sure that you knew, just an update that I did not forget about it. And but I'll make sure you get this information. So number of meetings ago, we told you about an offer that we had received from Abercrombie and Fitch. They have this big warehouse full of fixtures and stuff from their stores. So anytime that they do renovations or repurpose anything like that, they literally just take the stuff out of the store from across the globe and put it in a warehouse. And so we were approached by Abercrombie and Fitch to figure out how we can help Black-owned businesses access some of these goods. And so they have actually sent me finally pages and pages and pages of items. And so I just gave you like little snippets here, and I can share those items with you. But we're actually looking at setting up a donation day or two where COAACC members and friends can sign up to go to the warehouse and peruse. The biggest caveat is that you will need to be able to take this stuff off-site yourself, and you can't be intending to resell this stuff. But then there's a side note that there might be a business opportunity. And so I say that because I know there might be a couple people in here who are interested in something like that, where they might, some of this stuff is in really good condition, and to make space, they may consider selling it to you at a lower cost so that you can resell it. But for the immediate purposes, we're going to just be, this will be just free. You just have to be able to take it away. So as soon as I have details from that and from them, we'll have that for you, hopefully by the next membership meeting. Next slide.
Yes, please.
They got leather chairs. They got all sorts of stuff.
Yes, please.
That's great. Yes, I second that. Yes, please.
I knew Kim Knight was going to chime in on that.
Wait a minute. I'm number 3, I'm chiming.
I'm just saying thank you.
I got an SUV, I can put some stuff in a minute.
Right. And then,
I got a big old giant truck. Let's work that out, Avery Frost.
right.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
Count
coming.
me in there too.
So yeah, I'll let y'all know as soon as we get the details. I'll send an email to members first, and then to our network. And yeah, so as soon as we have those details. Now, next, and I keep talking about this because it's free money, and you should go for free money if there are no strings, right? Because, you know, obviously. So the deadline for the City of Columbus, Franklin County grants and the low interest loans is August 29th. Since our last meeting, they have expanded eligibility. So now, as long as you're a Franklin County-based business, you're eligible for grants up to $10,000 for working capital, rent, utilities, mortgage, whatever, as well as reimbursement grants up to $5,000 for PPE that you may have purchased, and low interest loans called pivot loans up to $20,000 to expand or kind of change directions in your business. Previously, if you had received like the PPP or EIDL, you couldn't get this. If you were in certain neighborhoods of Columbus, you couldn't get this. They have washed away all of those things. And so now you can proceed. And so if you haven't already applied, and I know there are people on this call who have not applied because I can see the list, you need to go ahead and do that just because why not? Second, and I'll include this as part of our recap, but City Council member Priscilla Tyson followed up with us last week. So I want to say in June or early July, Columbus City Council passed a resolution to declare racism as a public health crisis. And so Councilmember Tyson has sent us an update letter that kind of explains everything that the city has been doing since then. And what other corporations and entities around town have been doing to kind of make Columbus a more equitable space. And so there is a letter that will be attached and is linked out of this. And further, she wants to know what you're up to. So yeah, so I pause or kind of stutter because it's like, well, I'm a Black-owned business and my space was always equitable space. Like, right, or I already was doing the work of inclusion. So I don't know but they do want to know what you've been up to. What about businesses? Sorry, I told y'all I get distracted if there's a chat that pops up while I'm talking, but it's okay because I love y'all. What about businesses you got
Avery,
applied for, huh?
I'm sorry. Would it make sense or be on topic to invite Councilmember Tyson to a meeting? Does she want an update like that?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure she would be interested in something that we could do a Zoom. I don't
Okay.
think that would be a problem. I don't, Willie and Stacy, what is the SBRRF grant and loan? Are you meaning what I just meant?
Small Business Response Recovery Fund.
Thank you very much, because I have not seen that acronym that way before. Yes, I will make sure that the, if somebody else can beat me to it, because I don't want to click out of this PowerPoint. But the, that is available through Rev1's website. If you search Rev1, and then they have the COVID-19 Small Business Response and Recovery Fund, that will be there, but I'll also make sure that I include the link in a recap email. Yes, ma'am.
I do have a question. So I have not been able to apply for this, and I was a little bummed about it, but I'm hoping that I might have be able to circumvent it. I just recently moved, I'm a home-based business, and I just recently moved out of Franklin County into Fairfield County. So the portion of like Reynoldsburg, Pickerington I live is Fairfield. So I'm not in Franklin, I'm not in Columbus. I was at the time, as of February. So like, is this at a point in time that you have to, that your business had to be located, or is it like at the time that you apply?
I am 90% sure it's at the time that you apply, unfortunately. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Sorry about that. But yeah. But if anybody else, if you are in Franklin County, do apply, please. And the link to the application page with eligibility and everything has been dropped into the chat by Deanna and Kim. Thanks, guys. So please go ahead and do that. If you need assistance, just on your application that you do through Rev1, click Columbus Urban League as the organization you're working with, because that will be me in this case. And so that way we'll get your questions. We'll be able to work with you through the application process. Okay. The last thing on this particular slide that I want to mention is that you may have seen on Friday, there was a Dispatch article and a NBC4 story that the Franklin County Board of Commissioners have just authorized grants to minority-owned businesses here in Franklin County. And I'm excited to say that we will be, I'm excited to, sorry, I told you I get distracted by the chat. I'm gonna just, it's okay. I'm gonna,
I can tell you were completely distracted.
I was like, very important step. Did I forget to say it?
Yeah,
And
no,
it was
sorry about
Daniel.
that, Avery. No, that was my bad. You did,
It
yeah. I
was
had to jump
Tanya.
in there on that one.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's really critical, because if they don't make mention of the referring agency and specifically Avery's name, it will get pushed back, and then there'll be another 1 week, 2 week delay. So just saying.
Thank you. Yeah, so we.
Tanya might as well have yelled squirrel.
Yes, exactly. Like I looked right out. But basically,
What I was gonna say.
Kim, or stop it. Okay, so our team really works hard to make sure that the applications that we get into our queue keep moving along. And I'm not saying that other people don't, because I know that everybody is working hard to move things through. And there have been probably at this point over 2,000 applications into that pool. But we're trying to be as responsive as possible to make sure that because if you're applying for this money, you need the money. And so we're trying to do our best in our part to move things along and through. And so, yeah, so if you put Columbus Urban League, I will do my best to get you through. And so what we do is we're the entrepreneurial support organization. We review work with you, answer questions about the application, and then help you submit it with your supplemental documents. From there, it goes through a couple of filters of different reviews and scores, and then before it gets to the grant review committee. So it could be a couple or a few weeks or more for the decision to be made. But the idea is that at least you have a submitted application in and you want to do it before the August 29th deadline. Okay, so before the squirrel came running across the screen, I was telling you about this exciting announcement that the Board of Commissioners have, I'm not looking at the chat, so if it's for me, you're gonna have to wait. The Board of Commissioners have granted or given, I don't know the right word, dollars to go specifically to minority-owned businesses that are in Franklin County. And so the details are forthcoming, but the grant will be administered by the Columbus Urban League in partnership with the Franklin County Board of Commissioners and One Columbus. And so make sure that you just keep an eye out on the emails that are coming from COAACC and from many other partners, including a few people who are on this Zoom right now. But I just wanted to let you know that we're excited and happy about that. I am both as COAACC, but as the Urban League, I'm very excited about the rollout of this process and that we can get this intentional infusion of dollars into the community. And it's called the Franklin County Community Equity Alliance and Fund is the name. And Kina, if I missed that, you'll tell me. But yeah, just wanted to let you know that more is to come for that. Wait, okay, I'm using Google Slides for this, so forgive me if I skip something I'm not supposed to. Okay, so we have a couple of things coming up from COAACC, and that I would ask Jill to give us an intro, at least on the first one, please.
So we have been talking about for the past couple meetings about needing to offer something for our members and for business owners and leaders within our family of stakeholders, just to mind your mind and to take care of you. It's really kind of self-care for business owners. And so Elizabeth Joy, who is fabulous, is going to come in and do a session with us. And it's not woo-woo, but she will, look at what?
Not woo-woo.
Well, this is the universal sign for woo-woo. But she will talk about the effects of stress and how important it is to balance and do those kinds of things. And I will tell you that when we were setting this session up, she actually did a mini session with me, and she's very good. And she did a session on one of the Urban League town hall meetings, I think a couple weeks ago, Avery. And it was just really, really well received. So if you have a little time on the 15th, stop by. We will send out the link either in the recap or shortly thereafter. She also does executive coaching, and we're talking with her about offering a discount for COAACC members who are interested in working with a coach, even if it's just to kind of see what that looks and feels like. Then at our next membership meeting in September, and we'll get the date to you, our board member, Anthony McIntosh, who was on the call today or is going to do a vision session as a part of the meeting. He'll be our guest. And it's a vision strategy session on what moving forward looks like. We have probably all been just everywhere, just trying to survive and trying to piece it together. And so the minding the mind of the leader and the vision strategy really are about how we pivot forward, how we go forward, because what we are in right now is temporary. It is temporary. It feels permanent, but it is temporary. It feels like 2020 has us on the mat, but this stuff is temporary. So we want you to be in a good position as you pivot and start to move forward. And Anthony might have left the call.
No, I'm still here, Jill.
Okay, so Anthony, I might not have done a great job describing your session, but
just
Anthony,
real quick. No, I'll just real quick. One of the things that I have seen working with different people over the past, 3 to 5 months is just people are stuck and trying to figure out how do they move forward. But more importantly, people need to start thinking about moving forward in a different manner. right? So you hear people talk about pivot, you hear people talk about reinvent, you hear people talk about innovation. Well, those are all well and good, but you also have to understand, how do you build something that allow you to become flexible and adaptable with any type of uncertainty and disruption? And Jill and I have had conversations about some type of strategy toolkit. And the thing that I have been focused on is, everyone talks about strategy, but not a lot of people talk about how do you build something that's flexible and adaptable during times of disruption and uncertainty. And so that's really what I'm going to focus on, to sort of help start thinking about things differently, because thinking about it pre-COVID is just it goes nowhere. So anyway.
Right. And as somebody a whole lot smarter than me said, we shouldn't be trying to get back to normal. We should be trying to get to better. Thank you, Avery Frost, for that confirmation.
Yeah.
Or as Auntie says, it is what it is.
It is what it is. That was so good. Okay, wait, hold on.
Don't start.
I'm sorry. Auntie Michelle, though. Auntie Michelle did it last night. Anyhow, what I'm really excited, you're muted still.
Okay, so thank you, Avery, for giving us that moment.
Yes. I'm really excited about the programming for September, because especially as we come into what will be a chaotic couple of months on top of chaos with elections in November, I think it's really important that we take a beat and center ourselves and our businesses before we get into whatever is going to happen. And we're going to hear about it from multiple fronts. So yes. Additionally, in September, we should be able to give you the dates. Actually, will be before the membership meeting that you'll hear the date as to when we're going to do our community forum for the November election, as well as other forums that we will be participating in as community partners. And so that information will be coming before the September meeting, which I do believe I kind of have tentatively slotted for September 17th. That is 2 things in the same week, but after the end of September, it'll just be election. So we want to make sure that we get this stuff in. These are 2 events that are not ours, but one we are participating in, one I'm just sharing. So the first one is, we all know that this whole work-life balance while working remotely and differently has been a lot. But now we're adding school back into it. And so you might have had a kind of a beat, but probably not. If you had school-age kids, you had to continue the school feel just so that there wasn't too much of a slippage. So the Columbus Women's Commission is having an employer working session on Thursday at 3 o'clock. I'll make sure that you have the link in the recap email. But just like it'll be employers to employers talking about how are you managing employees, giving best practices, and thinking about how to be successful in the fall. Most kids that, from my understanding, is, I can't do 2 things at once. Most people, from my understanding, most kids are going in from as early as now. Like some kids are started school this week. Through around Thanksgiving. So it'll, on top of the chaos, you have school. Yay. And so it's like back to school for parents as well. And so I think that if you're concerned about how to manage your employees who are managing that, and even as a business owner managing your own household, I think that August 20th thing will be good. Sorry. And then on August 26th, will Anthony or Jill please tell us about this Metropolitan Club event?
So Anthony brought this to the table, and we're actually working on a couple of partnership things. We're meeting, I think, this week, Anthony, to talk about some more partnership opportunities. But this one is Black History 101, and there is a mobile Black History Museum that will be in Columbus on the 26th. So in addition to the forum, you can go and tour in person this traveling Black History Museum with Dr. Khalid El Hakim.
And that's the 26th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's also going to be here. I got to get the right dates, but it's going to be here. I think the 26th through the 29th. I think the
Yeah, you can,
26th.
I think you can
Yeah,
schedule other days to go to
yeah,
the museum but I think if you want to do the forum, you can go
correct.
to the museum on the 26th, but yeah. And the link will be in the recap as well.
Yeah, thank you. And speaking of forum, I was wrong. We do have a date set for our forum, Jill?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We are doing our community, your business forum for electeds and candidates on October 1st.
And so this is ours. We tried it. This will be our second in this year. Actually, believe it or not, that feels like it was a decade ago.
It feels like it was 100 years ago. So same title, same premise, which is we want to hear where the electeds and the candidates stand on issues that are important to Black business owners, to Black economic development. But as we all know, our wealth and our health and our well-being and our psyches and our all of it are kind of, so it will be on October 1st. The Freedom Fund might partner with us on this one.
Freedom Block.
Freedom Block.
And ideally, but they're also doing one as well. And theirs has a judicial focus because there's a big race as far as the Ohio Supreme Court is concerned. But also we do need to put more focus on criminal justice and how our voice actually does impact that every election. So I think that might be a separate, though I imagine we will have some judicial candidates who participate in ours, probably a lot. We had a lot, yeah. I'd be surprised if we didn't.
Yeah, I've talked to Judge Terry and she's on Jameson, so we should have some judges.
Cool. And yeah, if you'll have more details about that. It'll be in an email. And we'll make sure that we can not just, I do like doing the Zooms and then sharing them after the fact, but that might be one where we somebody helps me figure out how to Zoom and Facebook Live at the same time. We'll see. We'll see about that. Next, we shared this in an email that we sent out about this meeting, but September 14th through 16th, our friends in Cincinnati are doing the 2020 We Mean Business virtual conference. There's a lot of cool partners involved. On the right, you'll see kind of the 3-day plan of action or 3-day agenda. They are still looking for speakers. So if you have something that you think fits into one of these 3 days, I would highly suggest you go ahead and do that. The call for speakers was included in the email that we sent. I will include it in the recap, but you need to have your proposal submitted to them by the end of this week. So do think about it. And also, if you can't attend, go ahead and attend. It's free. You just have to pre-register so that you can get the information to log on. But yeah, I think that's a pretty cool thing coming up. Now is this is my favorite time of, sorry. This is my favorite time of the membership meetings. I want to hear, and we all want to hear what you have going on. So this is a time where if you have something to share with the group and anyone listening, you can go ahead and drop it in the chat or just announce it. Try not to speak over each other. But yeah, so if you have something, please share.
Are you taping this part of it?
I can stop this part. We can just.
It's up to you.
Huh?
I was just asking.
I stopped. I'm gonna stop my sharing and I'm going to stop the recording. Yes.